All right, welcome to the IMOD installation walkthrough. This is for MIMG105. I'm your TA, Jonathan. All right, so for IMOD installation, you should first navigate to the two links that I sent out in the week 7 email. If you can't find that email, just Google IMOD download, and then it should take you to this IMOD homepage. It should be one of the first things that pops up. And then also Google IMOD users guide, and then that should take you to this page. Um, so a couple things before we get started. I don't think anyone in the class is using a Linux operating system, laptop, or computer, so we're going to be talking mostly for Mac and Windows today. Now, iMod was developed on Linux because that is the main operating system that we use in a scientific computing environment. So Mac folks, you guys will have a little bit of an easier time because Mac OS is natively developed on a platform that's pretty similar to Linux, whereas Windows is just its own thing. Um, that said, there are a couple of similarities between the two, but Windows users will have a couple extra steps in between. Okay. Um, so first off, for both Mac and Windows users, we will want to install Java on our computer. Java is basically a software environment that allows other software packages to run within it. And then Java is now owned by Oracle, so we need to figure out a way to get Java somehow. And a good option is to go to Adoption, however you say that. So we're going to open Adoption in a new tab. Again, we are on the iMod users guide. Yeah, if at any time you get lost during this walkthrough, the user's guide has everything you need to install iMod properly on your system. The instructions are a little bit dense, but they are complete. So just take your time through it and you should be okay. So anyways, we're going to go to Adopt MIM. And then let me hide my floating controls first. All right. So Adoption takes us to this website. I would not recommend downloading this latest LTS release that they have out here. So you see that Adoption has detected that I am running a Windows x64 operating system. But this LTS release, it's a pretty large software package because this is intended for developers. So to get the lightweight version of the software so that you don't have a bunch of bloatware on your computer, we're going to go to other platforms and versions. Okay. Now, depending on your operating system, if you are a Mac OS, filter that accordingly, and then figure out if you're x64 or Arch64. I'm not sure how to do this on Mac because I don't use a Mac, but you should be able to Google that pretty easily. And then just simply download the package or the zip file, and then you should be able to install from there. For my Windows users, we're going to filter this by Windows. And then architecture, so we're going to leave that blank. And then package type. Oh, this also goes for Mac users as well. Forgot to mention this. If you downloaded JDK, that's all right. But JRE, this is the lightweight version of the Java runtime environment. So this basically has everything you need and nothing you don't. So it will be a smaller install. Again, keep that bloatware to a minimum. Again, if you want the whole JDK package, it's also fine, not a big deal. But in this case, we're going to select JRE for Windows. And then if you're not sure what type of system you have on your Windows PC, you can simply hit Windows button or go down to your lower left corner, hit Windows. We're going to search system information. That pops up this dialog. And then on this page somewhere, you should see your system type. In this case, we are an x64 based PC. Most modern Windows computers should be x64. But anyways, choose your architecture accordingly. And then for Windows 10 and 11, you should be able to just download the MSI package. Whereas if you're on an older version of Windows, you may need to download the zip file and then extract it and then run the installer from within. So I've already done this step, so I will sort of jump to what it looks like. So I'm going to open up my downloads folder. And then you should just be able to double click on this Java installer that you downloaded. In my case, it's called OpenJDK 17U JRE x64 Windows hotspot version number. So if you double click on that, that will automatically launch the Java installer. And from then on, just stick to the default settings and you should be good to go. Same with Mac users. Okay, so Java is pretty straightforward. Once you have Java installed, we next want to move on to setting up our system environment properly. For my Mac users, you can skip this next step entirely, and you can actually go directly to just installing IMOD. But for my Windows users, there's a couple of extra steps that we need to do. And that namely involves installing something called Cygwin. Okay, so again, if we go to our IMOD users guide, we're going to scroll down to 1.5. So this is setting up a Windows PC to run IMOD with Cygwin. So Cygwin, what it is it basically is a Linux emulator that runs within Windows. So if you've ever played old school video games, like there's Game Boy emulators, Nintendo 64 emulators. So Cygwin is basically something like that, but it emulates Linux inside of your Windows environment. Okay, so I recommend downloading Cygwin from the IMOD website here because they have a few packages that are important to have that they tacked on. Cygwin is its own standalone company, I guess. So they do have a website and a homepage. If you're curious about what Cygwin is, you can read up all about it here. However, I do not recommend running or installing Cygwin from their main website because, again, you need those IMOD specific dependencies. If you do it from this website, you need to separately install some Python libraries and stuff like that, which we don't want to deal with. So we're going to close that. And then again, from this little chart, if you are running Windows 10 and also Windows 11 64-bit, you can simply hit Cygwin installer, which I will do. Okay. In my case, nothing happened because my browser thinks that I'm trying to install malware because Google Chrome likely doesn't know what IMOD is. So one way you can get around this is to right-click Cygwin installer. I'm going to copy the link address, open up a new tab, and then paste my copied link address, and then hit enter. And then now you'll see that Cygwin installer is downloading. Okay. And of course, if you have a different version of Windows, download the appropriate Cygwin installer. Again, to reiterate, Mac users do not need to use this step, okay? So now that my Cygwin installer is fully downloaded, I will open up my Downloads tab once again, show in folder, and I see that Cygwin installer has downloaded. So I'm going to now double click on Cygwin installer because we want to install this. And we want to allow this app to make changes on my device. So I will click yes. And then we will hit install. Wait for things to happen. And then you'll notice your browser popping you up into this page. Okay. This page has some, I guess, suggested instructions. It is best if you do follow these to the letter. If you don't, you'll probably still be usually okay, but try to follow the instructions here too. And I will also talk you guys through them. So first, we want to hit next. Again, we're mostly doing a default install here with a few specific changes, which I will point out. So we're going to hit next. We want to install from local directory, again, following along the instructions that automatically popped up. Okay, so install from local directory, hit next. The root directory by default will be C://Cygwin64. We want to change this to just Cygwin. It most likely will work if you have Cygwin 64, but just to be safe, we're going to delete the 64. We're going to install for all users because you most likely are the only user of your computer. So again, make sure this is C://Cygwin, all users. We're going to hit next. Local package directory, we're going to just keep the default here. So hit next again. Cygwin is going to extract everything. And this part is very important. So it's going to pop up this dialog for package under all. Make sure, oops, I'm going to collapse that. Make sure that is highlighted. So under this new column, there's going to be defaults. Here we want to click the drop-down menu and we want to hit install instead. Okay. And then we want to go down to the lower right corner here and click next. Okay, and again, the instructions here also sort of spell that out in detail too. So review and confirm changes. Yep, these are all the packages we want to install, and then we're going to hit next, and then give your computer a second to do its thing. All right, and I think we should be good. Okay, great. I had to pause the recording real quick to make sure I had everything recorded properly. But anyways, after you do all that, Sigwin should terminate, and then that is the installation of Sigwin. Um, if we go to our desktop now, you should notice you should have two new windows, at least two, sometimes three, depending on if you chose to select or to create that desktop icon. But if you double click Sigwin Bash now, you'll pop up in a terminal, and then this is sort of your Linux environment. We'll come back to this later, okay? So, all right, at this point, we will rejoin our Mac friends. So again, Sigwin, that is completely a separate thing that you need to do for Windows. You do not need to do that for Mac, okay? So now that our PC is fully set up, we can finally go back and install IMOD, okay? So to install IMOD, and again, this part now goes for our Mac friends. So in the IMOD homepage, we're gonna navigate to download IMOD for 11. We're gonna click that. Again, if you're Mac, you're gonna click the Mac tab, and then based on your OS version, you're going to select your appropriate clickable installer. Once you do that, it'll download the install executable, however you say that, executable. And then you should be able to click on that and then just follow the standard instructions, the default settings, and then you should be good to go with IMOD. We're going to do the same thing for Windows. So now we're going to hit the Windows tab. And that's going to jump you down to this page with the label latest stable release packages for Windows. There are several options here. At this point, it's important to figure out whether or not you have a GPU in your computer. I think most of you who have a discrete GPU in your computer, if you game on your computer, you know who you are, you know what GPU you have. If you do not have a GPU, one way to quickly find out is to, again, go down to your Windows button and then see if you have an NVIDIA control panel. Okay. If you do have a GPU, NVIDIA control panel should be installed. And then something like this dialog should pop up. Okay. If you do not have a GPU, you likely will not see this. Okay. Or you definitely will not see this. Okay. But generally, if you don't have a GPU, you're going to select the Windows 64-bit without CUDA. You're going to download the fully clickable installer and follow all instructions. For me, I have a laptop with a 3080 NVIDIA 3080 GPU. So I know I have Windows 64-bit with CUDA 8.0. So I'm going to click the full clickable installer. Okay. So we're gonna give that a second while that downloads. And now I think we're looking Good. So open up my downloads folder, wait for Chrome to finish scanning for security issues. If I refresh the page, all right, there we go. So here we have IMOD 4.11.21 Windows 64 with CUDA 8.0. Going to double click this. Allow the app to make changes on my device, yes. And the setup is now ready to begin installing IMOD on your computer. Click install to continue with installation, or click back if you want to review or change any settings. Our destination location is going to be, again, for Windows guys, C Cygwin user local, because IMOD now realizes that, oh, there is a Linux-like environment in Cygwin on our computer. So we're going to hit install, wait for everything to extract, and that should be all. We're going to click finish. All right. So let's see, let's minimize our screen. And that is really all that there is to it. Now, the way to figure out if IMOD or if subsidiary programs have installed correctly is to, on Windows, you want to go back to our two Cygwin terminals that we created. You can use either one of these. I'm going to use the Cygwin Bash. And this also goes for Mac users as well. Okay, if you want to double check to make sure that IMOD has installed successfully, on Mac computers, there should be an option to open up a terminal. Terminal should look something like this. It's looks very software, computer code, fancy. But open up the terminal, and then also the same for Windows users. If we go in here now and we type etomo like that, we're going to hit enter. And let's see what happens. Okay, great. So something popped up. If this pops up, that means the etomo part of IMOD has successfully installed. So that means our Java installation, which we did at the very beginning, was successful. Okay, so etomo looks good. I'm going to exit out of that. And then you also want to check, just type in IMOD, hit enter. And then if IMOD has successfully installed, you should get some interface that looks like this. Okay, again, this also goes for Mac users as well. So that is all that there is to it. One more time to summarize, type in etomo, hit that, type in IMOD, hit enter as well. And then if you get two dialogues that appear, that means your IMOD has successfully installed on your computer. Okay. That is all. If you have any questions or if you're so confused, please refer to the IMOD user's guide right here. Again, this has everything that I just talked about. If you're still confused at that point, then email me, or then we can figure out a debugging troubleshooting session. All right, that's all. See you guys tomorrow.